image indicates there is something which we have to ponder around, which is about a problem, a thinking is happening, and then finally comes the lighting of the bulb, the solution to which what we are seeking for. The outcome is the raw. There was a reasoning, there had to be observation, there had to be analysis, and the reflection. What are the dangers of making decisions or forming beliefs based on limited information as illustrated by the story? Why is this critical thinking skill important? First of all, it is your decision making. Whenever there is a need for a decision, where there is a right and a wrong, where there is huge chunk of information that is given to all of us, let me start my topic on critical thinking, a key learning outcome of the 21st century classrooms. Okay, so for all the participants out there, let's read this. Critical thinking, break it apart, open your mind, follow your heart, analyze, reason. Don't just believe. The power of thought is what we achieve. I would like to start from this 4 lines, the session today on critical thinking skill, which is considered to be, there is a lot of discussion which is happening around critical thinking. And as per the national education policy, now the learning skill is categorized as 4C, in which creative and critical thinking, collaboration and communication is considered to be a very important, and it takes a prominent role in the overall teaching and learning process. So anytime learning skills is very important. And in that learning skill, critical thinking is something which comes in the foremost. So as the image indicates, there is something which we have to ponder around, which is about a problem, a thinking is happening, and then finally comes the lighting of the bulb, the solution to which what we are seeking for. So today's session is in the cloud. It's happening in the cloud, right? So instead of the ground rules, let's fix some cloud rules. I hope you all agree with me when I say it's a cloud rule. First of all those who are attending the workshop, kindly keep a paper or a notepad with you and keep a pen or a pencil. Please note down all the relevant learning in the form of a flow chart, because as and when we discuss a few things, probably you will come across certain important points that you would like to note down for today. So please see to it that you are noting it down. There are certain activities which I would be insisting, even though it is in the cloud, even though this is an online session, please follow those instructions. You can use the chat for relevant responses and questions. In case some doubts comes to your mind and you want to ask, you can please put it in the chat box. And our specialist, Ms. Nicey, will be supporting me in that area. And use it only for relevant responses. Please check your audibility and visibility and also inform the moderator in case there is a concern. Check your speakers as well as your audio devices first. And all cloud strokes in the form of emojis and reactions and responses are most welcome. And please maintain cloud drop silence by muting your device. So are we all good to go? Fine. So let's now move to the next slide. I would request all my participants to have the following takeaways. First of all, you may have to note down 3 most relevant ones. Probably you might get less or more than 3, but please see to it that you are noting it down. There should be at least 3 takeaways of creating critical thinking in your classroom scenarios. 3 interesting parts of the training which you liked and enjoyed as a session. And 1 joyful situation, one joyful moment from today's session. So if you all agree with me, this is about the takeaways that I am expecting, the learning outcome that I am expecting from each one of you. So please make it a point. And with that, I feel that all of you are ready with the notepad and you're all ready for today's topic. So I don't know how many of you will be interested in stories. So I would like to start my session with a story. So shall I ask you all to keep your eyes closed? Because I'm going to talk to you about a dark, dark world. This is the world of the blind people, the blind men's world. So keep your eyes closed. Anyway, you're all on mute. Your videos are off. I will not be seeing whether your eyes are open or closed. So please keep your eyes closed. Let's go to that blind world. It's all dark. It's all black. What is it that we can hear? For the buzzing of the bees, maybe the soft whisper of the breeze, or maybe the rough sand that ruffles beneath, or maybe all that they have known and explored and felt with their hands, or maybe what they have smelled. Whatever they have explored in this world, except with their eyes. So these are the six blind men of the village. They always sit under a tree. That is their world. Wherever they are, they're all always they cling together. They are seen together. They walk in a line. They have a huge pole on which they are all clinging. And there will be this small little boy called Balu who takes them around to the different parts of the village. These six blind men were always very, very curious to know about everything around them. And you know what? There used to be travelers who visit this village every now and then. And they were their only source of wisdom because these travelers used to come with a lot of stories about the places they traveled, the sight that they saw, the new adventures that they have gone through. And through these travel stories, the six blind men saw the world across. One such time, there was a traveler from Kerala, and he came up with a huge adventure story. And that was this encounter with the elephants in the forest. He had so much to speak about the elephant. He said this and that and this and that. And the six blind men, they got so excited. And this huge animal, the so called animal called elephant, remained as a fantasy in their blind world. So, what is this all about? How will this elephant be? What does it eat? Will it hurt others? How big is this animal? They kept asking each other. There was a lot of restlessness in each one of them. They lost their sleep. They were like unusually sad because they always wanted to know what this elephant was about. So finally, it was the happiness that come across because the elephant is in the village. There came somebody who has brought this elephant to the village. How the six blind men, they got ready. They usually, when they travel, they have this huge pole. Everybody used to catch hold of the pole. And there is Mr. Balu who's walking in front. Each one holds onto the shoulder of the one who is in front and they walk in a line. And then they reached near the elephant. Balu was very clever. Though he was a little boy there, he was very clever. He kept the six blind men at different spots. And now it was time for the blind men to see, to feel, and experience the elephant. And you know what happened? After some time, there came a huge cry. Hey, the elephant is like a snake. I can see it moving, wiggling around. The one who was holding the trunk shouted. The other one said, no, this is very hard. It's like a wall. Come on, it's so rough. That was the one who stood near the body. Arre, no way. This elephant is like a tree trunk. Look at it. It's huge pillar like tree trunk. Oh no, the fourth man cried out. It's a huge fan. Come on. Elephant is a fan. And the fifth one said, no, no, no. It's a spear. The one was holding onto the tusk. And the sixth one said, you are all wrong. Come on. Elephant is like a rope. I can feel it. And so on. The argument continued. So all those who followed my instruction of keeping the eyes closed, you can open your eyes if at all you are keeping your eyes closed. Take a piece of paper, kindly draw the elephant which the blind man had seen. The huge tree trunk, the wall-like body, or maybe the tusk which was like a spear, the trunk which was like a snake, the ears that was like a fan, and of course the tail which was like the rope. I'll give you 1 minute time. I have 188 participants at present, minus two of us probably. So let me see if any one of you can draw the elephant which the blind man saw. Each one of them in pieces, okay? So now let us put all the pieces together. And this is what the artist visualized. So this is a typical example of the concept of critical thinking. Now, what do you mean by critical thinking? It's always a lateral thinking. That is, we never come to the direct answer. We go, we analyze what the blind man did just now. So here, I would like all of your attention. The outcome is the raw. There was a reasoning, there had to be observation, there had to be analysis, and the reflection. Once again, I repeat, the role, the acronym for the different aspects of critical thinking. So here we have the reasoning ability, which is important. Observation is very important because only when you observe, you come across the detailing of what is there in front of you. And then we have to analyze the fact, and then we come back to the reflection of whatever, like the six blind men shouted out. It was their reflection. And once a reflection comes in, there is also a continuum with the reasoning part, whether it was right or wrong. And each one had a lot to speak about what they experienced. So this is the four lines. Don't be fooled by what they say. Dig deeper. Find your own way. Evidence shows. Assumptions fade. In the light of thought, progress is made. Another aspect of critical thinking. I hope all the participants here, you're getting an idea about how the story of the six blind men and the elephant connects us to this wonderful topic of critical thinking. So I have a brain exercise for all of you. What I'm expecting from each one of you is to pick up any one of the questions. I'm not asking you to do all the questions. Up to your interest, as per the blind man story, you can pick up any one question from this. And you note down in your notepad what is coming to your mind. If the men had communicated and shared their experiences, how might their understanding of the elephant have changed? Now, what happened at the end? The six blind men were fighting with each other. They were arguing with each other about what they experienced. And they said, and they kept arguing that the elephant is a snake, or an elephant is like the tree trunk, or the elephant is like a rope. So, what is your understanding? What if it might have brought in a change if they all sat together, communicated, shared their experiences, and how differently their understanding would have changed? The second question is about how could the six blind men have come to a more accurate understanding of the elephant? Third is, what do you think the elephant represents in the context of this story? Fourth question is about some examples of modern elephants, hyphen situations, where everyone has a piece of the truth, but no one sees the whole. Do you think the blind man's experience were completely useless? Or did each contribute something valuable? And the sixth one, what are the dangers of making decisions or forming beliefs based on limited information as illustrated by the story? So I'll give 2 minutes. Now the time in my watch is 6:35. I'll give you time till 6:37 for each one of you to mention what is in your mind when you heard this particular story. You're already familiar with the story. I didn't come up with a story which is something very different or new. It's all about the six blind men and the elephant, which helps us connect to the concept of critical thinking. So I'll just give you 2 minutes. Now, see, I think I can give them 2 minutes, right? Any one question only. Do not attempt all the six questions. Any one which you feel interested in. There are few participants who have just joined. For your information, we started with the story of the six blind men and the elephant. And after narrating the story, I have suggested the participants to pick up any one of these six questions, which is now on the screen. And you can represent your answers in the notepad that you have. 1 more minute to go. Are you able to connect it? If not, you can put your queries in the chat box so that Ms. Nicey will be able to convey this to me. Okay, 2 minutes over. Now, whatever is there, as we proceed, let's listen to that. Now, what is?
Ma'am, Vidyashri has said they share their previous knowledge, what they had acquired, they exhibit it. Toshita has said the elephant represents our own perspective to the situations or the circumstances.
Wow.
Jancy A. John has said ambiguity for the question 6. Shalu Jain, how can we participate? Okay, sorry. Selvarani S. Each perspectives are valuable. Answer for question number 5.
Okay, so there was an ambiguity for question number 6. What are the dangers of making decisions or forming beliefs based on limited information as illustrated by the story? Because here the six blind men, they had very limited information. They had seen the world and what they perceived, accordingly, they judged that elephant is like what they perceived. So they were getting bits and pieces of information. So is it right to make a complete decision using bits and pieces of information, or is it very important to get into the depth and the detail of the information before you come to a conclusion? That is question number 6.
There are more answers, ma'am, from Genevieve. Perceptions from partial information. Srija, make them more confident.
Which was the question they attempted? We have they mentioned that?
Answer 1 is make them more confident. Selvarani answered question number 6, the danger of a single side story. Lekha has said their understanding, they explained. Suma Nelisheri has said, it is difficult to conclude because it has limited information.
Great. Thank you so much for the beautiful responses. So for all those who are participating in my brain exercise, wonderful. Now you know what you have done. You are now utilizing your brain, your cognitive ability, your thinking ability is what you have utilized just now. And for all the 6 questions, the thinking ability that I tapped is the critical thinking ability, which is of a higher order thinking skill. So now let us understand what exactly you mean by creative thinking skill. Why is this critical thinking skill important? First of all, it is your decision making. Whenever there is a need for a decision, where there is a right and a wrong, where there is huge chunk of information that is given to all of us. And right now, we live in a world where there is no dearth for this information. We get a lot of information from the Google, as you all know, and for any number of information, for any questions that we ask, we have so many answers. So from that, it is very important to develop the skill of decision making. So critical thinking if tapped well, right from the smaller ages, it will enable a person to get decision making skill. And another aspect of decision making itself is the problem solving ability. The ability to attend to a problem. We become solution oriented rather than problem oriented. We develop research skills. We get into, like some of us wanted more information. Maybe the sixth blind man is representing us with our ignorance. We depend on half baked situations and then we come to our conclusions, which is not right. So, what is the need for critical thinking? Go with research skills. Get into the depth and the detail. That is what the small little poem all about. Don't be fooled by what they say. Dig deeper. Get into the depth. Get into the research. Find your own way. There is nothing wrong in finding your own ways. You have chat gpt, it gives you hundred and millions of information. Do you think what chat gpt is giving you is right? No, you have to dig deeper. You have to find your way. It can give us information. Evidence shows, assumptions fail. And in the light of thought, progress is made. So, what is more important is that you come to this process of refining your research skills. Thereby, you are able to come up with your own reasoning ability and you're polishing your creativity skill and you're also stimulating the curiosity. So, that is where critical thinking skill plays a very important role. Now, let us do another exercise. This is about cycling. You all know cycle, and cycling is a very viable and sustainable transportation option in the modern world. If this is the situation, I would like you to take up a planning. It's a project, okay? You're all my students. I'm giving you a project. It is an interdisciplinary project. You're going to explore the different perspectives of how cycling can contribute to sustainable urban environments. You pick up any one area. Don't go for all the six options. Pick up one aspect. Now you are the urban city planner and you're going to come up with a plan of action where cycle is going to be your mode of transportation. So what facilities would you bring in your urban city planning? What are the health benefits that you can showcase? So each one of you, I have 233 participants now, pick up any one from this and identify what you would like to add on if you would prefer to go with cycling. How can cycling contribute to sustainable urban environment? I have 1 minute to go on this, which is where you are going to come up with a plan of action, a proper urban planning. How well can we do this planning? What are the health benefits that we have? What would be the financial benefits if we change our mode of transportation into cycling? What is it that we can convey to the whole world about environmental sensitivity, because we live in an era of carbon emission and global warming and a lot of changes which is happening across the world. Is there anything to connect it with engineering and technology that we can add on to our cycle? So it's all our beautiful bicycle, the beautiful toy that we always used to have, the first vehicle that every child gets hold of. And later on, it is now changing to so much of, now cycle itself is a world of revolution, isn't it? So I'm going to give you 3 minutes to work on this. For this second brain exercise, I would like to give you 3 minutes. Now the time is 6:43. I would like you to complete this by 6:46. Pick up only one topic.
And Toshita has answered that would save the money we spent on fuel.
Great.
Reena
Good
John
response.
has answered environmental sensation.
How?
Neeta
Environmental
Singha,
sensation, how? Can you be specific?
Neeta Singha has said it's health benefits.
Great.
Geeta M, we can save money, our environment, we can reduce many diseases.
Mhm.
Toshita has answered would cut the pollution and traffic congestion.
Okay.
Lakshmi
I want an
Prashant,
engineer. I want a technologist. I want somebody who's an economist. I want somebody who's a naturalist and an environmentalist. I want a doctor, a physician. Come on.
yeah. Jansi has said reducing carbon emissions.
Yeah.
Lakshmi has said cycling can reduce pollution and it's
Yes.
good for health. Rafiq, good for strength and stamina. Cycling increases stamina, strength, and aerobic fitness.
Wow, wonderful.
Shamna, we can get rid of lifestyle diseases. Money,
Great.
pollution free option.
Okay.
Usha Shrikant, good for health, pollution control. Lata and Suresh, conservation of nature.
Mm-hmm.
Martha has answered health benefits. Our heart will be very happy.
Great. I loved it.
Ria Rajan has said, surely we can contribute to technology to develop our traditional model of bicycle to a new generation friendly model.
Yeah. That's a
Anju
technologist.
Jacob, yeah, Anju Jacob has said it's health benefits, perfect exercise.
Mhm.
Bharati, it's very good for health.
Okay.
Bhavna Mehra has answered bicycling can contribute to the national economy by supporting jobs and bringing in tax revenue.
That's a different thought process. Great, Kamna.
And Lekha has said generates less noise and pollution is very less economically feasible.
Okay. Can we generate
Jovi,
electricity? Is there a possibility by cycling? Yeah, in the world of Japan, it is the footsteps which generates electricity. So every payment, every place where they have led the payment, they have kept this cell wherein each footstep generates electricity in Japan. So you think about the possibilities. So now we are working on this small little concept called cycle, but we are thinking in a lateral manner. We are bringing in lateral thinking here. One concept wherein each brain is now working differently. So imagine now you are all in the clouds. If you are all together, if you are in one place, if you are all in different groups, think about the amount of resourcefulness that you can bring from this kind of an activity wherein we are asking the team members to work around one topic. I have just asked cycling can contribute to sustainable urban environments. How differently, with the different perspectives. So I can see a doctor coming up with health benefits. I can see a city planner coming up with different modes of cycle routes, probably that he or she wants to plan in his city. There is somebody who's an economist who is thinking about how differently can cycle help in the financial benefits, in the home economy part of it, and so on. So, my dear participants, this is what we believe critical thinking is all about. Right now, the process that is happening inside your brain, I didn't ask you a one word answer. I didn't ask you to compare anything. I didn't ask you to apply anything. What I had asked you to come up with options. And now you can see how your brain is working, how we reach to that higher level of thinking process. And this particular experience, if all the 254 participants right now here is involved in the process, that is a success of critical thinking because I'm going to get 254 variety of responses for this concept that I have put across to all of you. So let us move on as we have limited time because as our topic is about critical thinking, the key learning outcome in the modern world classroom. So I have two boxes. On one side, I have kept the different types of learning outcomes which we can achieve through critical thinking skill activities. Suppose we are implementing these kind of activities inside a classroom. I started with the six blind men. I gave you a set of questions where you all could sit and analyze the different perspective of the six blind men, how he or she perceived that elephant. With the questions, I reached out to you. I give you the second brain exercise where I took a small example of cycle to bring in an interdisciplinary approach. Since you're all far away from me, this is the limit to which we can reach out to each one of you. But still, I feel the kind of responses that each one of you had given has enabled you to think differently. So, what we were trying to do now, we had tried to get into the learning outcome of analytical skill of a person. The seeing the elephant was an analytical skill. There was something which is very common, very big. It was all about the huge, gigantic figure called elephant. But then we break it into different pieces. Now it comes to the creativity of the teacher how well she can develop the critical thinking aspects from that little story of the blind man and the elephant. So analytical skills plays a very important role. And whenever you engage your children in your classroom with the aspect of critical thinking sessions, this is one skill or one learning outcome that we can achieve. We will be allowing the children to break complex problems into very, very simple aspects. Nicely, I have 10 more minutes to go, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Then comes the evaluation of evidence. Sorry, there is a spell error. Evaluation of evidence. Whenever an information is given to us, that's where the 21st century skills, critical thinking, it plays a very important role because we get so much of information and there is limitless information that we are getting. So what is needed is that from that information, is it credible? Is it relevant? If we have to identify what is most relevant for us, we should be able to evaluate it. And that evaluation of evidence is the side effect of critical thinking. Another aspect is about bringing reasoning into the situations. So the child, there is nothing like you are asking open-ended questions inside the classroom. All the answers that you said probably is right from your perspective. But now it is the smartness of the teacher to collect all these different types of responses, bring it together, and then come up with a conclusion because there is always a conclusion. So problem solving, wherein you're able to apply the logical reasoning. So I have numbered almost 8 different learning outcomes that we can achieve in our classes through critical thinking sessions. Creative thinking, as I told you, 4 C's: creative thinking, critical thinking, collaboration, communication. These 4 C's are considered to be the present world's learning skills. There are life skills, there are learning skills, and there are literary skills. Excuse me. So when you have the creative thinking, there is innovations, new ideas coming up. People start thinking in a different path. You always say about thinking out of the box. So it's all about coming up with new ideas and new interpretations. You have a self-regulation. You will also start thinking about yourself, reflect on thinking processes, and you will tend to improve over time. That is where I raised this question. If there was somebody like a wise man to guide these 6 blind men, to take and see the entire picture. The one who was holding on the trunk, he had to move to the other side also. He should have moved around the entire animal to experience the whole animal and then give them a complete picture of what this elephant looks like. So it is always important that we are always not absolutely right or absolutely wrong. There should be a situation where we should be able to reflect on our own thinking process. So critical thinking helps in that. Argumentation and reasoning. Most of the time debates and discussions happens inside our classroom. So when we get into this debates and discussion, it is not to hurt anybody's feelings, but at the same time, it is coming to a formulation because we get into critic arguments. The arguments have to be effective. We should be engaging in debates and assignments so that there is a logical structuring of the ideas. That is where I mentioned arrange your learning in using graphic organizers or using a flow chart. What is this flow chart about? Flow chart is about organizing the ideas or organizing the facts or information that you have collected in today's session. You can also make a decision. Your decision making becomes well informed and well reasoned. And the last one is about collaboration and communication. So I have mentioned almost 8 different learning outcomes. And in order to achieve these 8 different learning outcomes, all of which is the result of critical thinking activities. And how can a teacher bring critical activity inside the classroom, critical thinking activity inside the classroom? First of all, if you ask open-ended questions, as soon as you start your session or in the middle of the session, you're allowing your children to reflect on what you have taught inside the classroom. So open-ended questions or any problem, the problem is not just any ordinary problem that is given, something connected to the society. So when I said about urban development, I was trying to connect it with all the pollution and the carbon emission and all kind of climatic changes that we are coming into. So I was putting across a problem to you. And when we have a problem in front of you, and when all of you are analyzing that problem, that becomes a critical thinking activity. Sometimes it could be inquiry based learning. There is something which is already available. The data is already available. And now you get into an investigation of it, or you get into a project, you dissect, you get into the details and depth of things. You can have debates and group discussions. You can have role plays inside your class, which is again an option. I always used to do this beautiful activity with my students where the Three Little Pigs is my favorite story. And with the Three Little Pigs, I bring science and social and maths and language inside the classroom. All the landforms and water bodies get covered because the pig has to escape. So all the way wherever he is running, the landforms comes in. Inside the house, they construct all kind of chemical compositions wherein the wolf is jumping and the smoke is coming up. Then there is also this mathematical calculation of constructing the house with different shapes and things. It's beautiful, and you should see the way how the children get excited with the critical thinking sessions. Then comes reflections and metacognition. Of course, a metacognition is a stage where you come into reflections and self-regulation. You understand out of the 10 points that is being mentioned, I am now at 3. I have 7 more to cross. So metacognition is the level where a learner himself or herself understands that I am at this particular stage and now I'm expected to travel this much to achieve something in my life. Similarly, mind mapping and concept mapping, peer teaching and collaborative work, diverse perspectives, giving them case studies, giving them the primary source, very, very important because you have so much of information. One topic, millions of information that you have. So, how will a child be able to connect to all this? And this is about the different types of teaching strategy that would help to bring in the process of critical thinking inside the classrooms. Next, what create the difference in the classroom is basically the teaching strategy. So we engage the students in active learning, so they become responsible for their thinking process. Right now, we are not evaluating anybody's thinking process. The child is free to come up with his or her plan rather than the teacher enforcing the thinking into the child's mind. Then comes shift from the rote memorization. Here, what happens? The child can analyze, question, and apply knowledge, which is very crucial. And then comes the thoughtful engagement with the content. Whenever we have such kind of interesting sessions, especially stories and simulations, or you have role plays, you have open-ended questions and debates, etc. What happens is that automatically the child is connected to the content. So from a passive listener to an active learner, that is the shift that happens when we bring in these kind of activities. So you could connect well with the learning outcomes. Now, this is one of the questions, another critical thinking question that I wanted to ask you. Is critical thinking a 21st century skill? So what is your answer for this? Is it just a 21st century skill? I would love to hear this answer because always, throughout, whenever I came across this particular activity, I always heard critical thinking is a 21st century skill. Is it so? I would like to
No,
get some interesting answers. Come on.
we've got all answers as no. It's there all the
Ah,
time. It's skill
ah.
for all ages.
What about the cavemen? Think from the time of the caveman. If he or she doesn't have, I mean, they never had this 21st century skills. Do you think it is ever possible to evolve so much? The human generation, we are all in this particular moment is only because of the critical thinking skill that we have. And right from the philosophers, or even much, much, much millions of years ago, when the caveman started exploring, when he started making the tools, when he started making the wheels, when he started digging out from the earth, cultivation, everything was a result of critical thinking. But down the line, somewhere we messed it up. You know what has happened? This is not a new invention. So basically, what I wanted to tell you right now is that this 21st century skills, so-called the so-called 21st century skills, after a period of time, we were just consumers of information. So if you take the last 100 years, we never explored, we never wanted to get something new. Even if we want to make an essay, we ask Google Andy to give us an essay. If we have to make a topic, we ask, now we have AI tools. So everything is based on consuming the information which is already available. We have lost that capability of analyzing and evaluating. So it's a skill which is slowly moving off. So that is the reason why presently critical thinking skill is considered to be something very important, and we have to bring it back because we have unprecedented access to information through the internet and the media. Therefore, critical thinking helps us sift through this information. Sifting is very important. Identify credible sources and informed decisions, not blind decisions. Hence, in the 21st century classrooms and in 21st century teaching, critical thinking plays a very, very important role. Another aspect is about all the global issues that is happening. We are all, every day we are reading about social injustice, the climatic changes that is happening, the outer space, about Sunita Williams, the latest if you talk about it. All this, it's all there in front of us. But how much are we involved? How much of action are we taking to prevent certain things that is happening, and the landslides, the pollutions, the global warming, and all this? You try to connect and what is happening to the present population. Therefore, critical thinking skill as such is very important. It is not a new invention. It is there. It's a fundamental skill that has evolved with humanity from cavemen to the philosophers to the present world, the scientists, and everybody. We all go through this process. But now we are understanding this is quite important and it should come inside our classrooms. And that will again go back to the role, which is all about reasoning, observation, analysis, and reflection. So I would like to conclude my session. I think the time that Ms. Nicey had given me, I have crossed 2 minutes. Take a step back, look around. Don't let your mind get locked down. Ask the questions, challenge the view. The truth is waiting right there for you.
Question by Deepankar Rane. How can critical thinking ability be measured, that is, evaluated or assessed? Our present examination system is not suited for that.
Yeah. Our present examination system is not suited. Probably it's time for a change. Yes, we can analyze the critical thinking because for that we have to create certain rubrics. Rubrics is like, for example, we are interacting the children with a debate and we wanted a particular topic. Maybe you can take the same example, the topic that I had given today, which is all about cycle. So me as a teacher will be having a rubric with me to come up with how far the children were able to analyze the accuracy of the information that they shared, to what extent they were able to come up with their reasoning, etc. So this is whenever we are engaging the children for critical thinking, and this is not like you have to put this in your question paper when you're doing your summative assessment. You can have it as a project-based learning. You can pick up a topic and a relevant topic, which is age appropriate, can be given to the children and they can be allowed to do the necessary research. You can be a facilitator, and with the help of rubrics, you can always assess your children for the critical thinking ability. It's not, it's something which is very commonly happening because we have this assessment as learning and off learning and score learning process nowadays. So it's slowly into the process. And even in multiple choice questions, you're coming up with reasoning type questions. So So that is also an option where the children are allowed to go through the critical thinking skills. It is now becoming common.
Ma'am, we'll move on to the next question. The question is by Diya Sri Kumar. Just like in the story of the six blind men, each child has a fresh perspective when trying to find an answer to an open-ended question. Yet it is often seen that teachers encourage sticking to an answer key while answering the same during examination. How can we rely on the present schooling system to develop critical thinking? In which case should parents act as a teacher of critical thinking?
It is the answer is there in your question. It is we teacher who has to decide. And when we think about the teaching strategy and the way how how much of critical thinking would you like to bring into your classroom? Have you ever experienced the result of critical thinking? First of all, that is a stage wherein we actually should see how an activity like this engage the children and how the learning outcome evolves. So first, we should experience that and understand the result. Secondly, it is not all about assessing. Before assessment, there is always an experience. There is always a curiosity and a wonder that you can create inside the classroom with these open ended questions. And gradually, if at all you would like to definitely do an evaluation, you can come up with a strategy because I have already mentioned about different teaching strategies that you can adopt inside your classroom. Now, let me ask you a simple example. When I mentioned during my session that about three little pigs, I have utilized the three little pigs for kindergarten classroom and I have also used it for a 10th standard class. How the three little pigs evolves in the children. And you should have seen the way how they came up with gadgets. They came up with different technology and devices wherein the present world, like how the pig communicates with each other. So this is possible provided the teacher first gets convinced about bringing critical thinking scenario inside your classroom. I hope I answered to your question.
Thank you, ma'am, for that. Selvarani has a question here. What are some ways to meet the students wherever, like fears, conditioning, competition, like they are right now, and invite to explore deeper their intrigue and curiosity?
Can you read it once more?
Yeah. What are some ways to meet the students wherever fears or conditioning or competition, wherever they are right now, and invite to explore deeper their
Okay, so
intrigue and
probably the
curiosity?
children are reluctant. They have a fear factor to come out, or they may be lagging in their confidence to come up. So that is the space where stories helps you a lot. The moment you come up with stories, even as adults, we start enjoying the story. So you can slowly bring the children because most of the children are reluctant to come up with an answer because there is always this factor of right and wrong. They always have this preconceived notion, like that's what the elephant, the situation that we have created. That is, it's already there in our mind that if I say like this, the teacher will like me. If I don't respond, then the teacher might feel angry with me. Or if I am wrong, I am hesitant to respond. So when a teacher creates a learning environment of open communication where you give them 100% guarantee that you are not judged for what you are saying, but we will convert whatever responses that you're giving into an interesting conversation. That is where the children sheds their fear and inhibition and they come forward. It will be a slow process. It will take some time. Probably you may even have to use the language and the communication which the child is familiar with. And in some of the classes that I use, I don't even see, I asked you to draw the elephant, if you remember during my session. Now, why is it? Because there are people who cannot open up. There are people who doesn't want to come and say that the elephant's ears was looking like this or etc. etc. So I had asked you to draw it. I can ask you to write a poem. I can ask you to write another story about a conversation with these six blind men. So that is my change of approach to enable a child who is lacking in confidence to come up.
Thank you, ma'am, for that. Shamna Yakub has asked this question. What is the age to start critical thinking skills?
preschool. We can start it right from the preschool. Because children, they learn the sorting, the analysis, the puzzles, anything for the a very small child, the one who is having maximum curiosity. Let's not hush up the curiosity of the child. You can start it right from the preschool age, and I'm doing it.
Thank you, ma'am, for that. There's another question here. Critical thinking and creating. Are they related or
Creative thinking.
different?
Creative thinking critical thinking can lead to creative thinking. When you become critical, that is where innovations comes in. When you bring in innovations, it becomes creative. So that is why it is connected. Critical thinking, creative thinking, collaborate, bring it together. We are now in a world where it is not single. So bring it together and then communicate. Communicate is what I understood, what I perceived. I should be able to communicate in the language where others can understand. So they are like brothers and sisters. One goes well with the other one. So we cannot separate it. Wherever there is a critical thinking, creativity comes into the picture. So why we have seven wonders of the world? Why we have the bullet trains and now the I don't know what else is going to happen. Why? It's all the critical thinking which led to creativity.
Thank you, ma'am, for that. We have another question here. When students and teachers are loaded with syllabus, where can we find enough time for critical thinking?
It is absolutely easy because when you are loaded with the syllabus, in that syllabus itself, there are a lot of topics which you can convert to critical thinking sessions. So when you think that all these topics you have to teach, you have to follow the lecture method, you have to constantly explain it in the class. That is where we go wrong. So out of the 15 lessons or chapters that you have, identify the topics which the children can learn by themselves, where this critical thinking sessions can be brought in. And usually, if you can follow in higher classes, always a flip model is fantastic. It will do wonders. You give the topic to the children, ask them to prepare and come, and then there can be a day wherein there are certain schools which follow even zero period. So there are certain times when you can have an extra session, or maybe one of the period in your entire month, one period can be allotted for such kind of activities. Or maybe you can connect it with your school event. You have STEAM expos and exhibitions which is happening in your school. You can have a critical thinking session connected to that. So the only thing you integrate the topic so that that topic you can take out of your regular teaching. You can change the assessment pattern over there. You may not even include that particular topic in your summative assessment, etc., etc. These are options which is available, and we usually follow this pattern in the schools where we are associated with.
Thank you, ma'am, for that. We have another question from Janelia. Is critical thinking a necessary skill in the age of artificial intelligence?
Artificial intelligence is a result of critical thinking, right? Yes, it is. In the world of artificial intelligence, that's where I said ChatGPT and AI tools is available. It's there in our fingertips. We get so much of information. So one of the outcome of critical thinking is that from this ocean of information, we should be able to collect the relevant ones, which is more important, which is more relevant for our classroom or the topic that we are taking. Or maybe, if you are talking about any concept in this world, we can say that we get so much of information, and all those information may not be right. Even in ChatGPT, if you open ChatGPT, it is very clearly mentioned over there that all the information that is being conveyed by ChatGPT is not right. So how will I decide what is right for me? For which I need critical thinking. In this world of AI tools, what is right and wrong? What is the value that we can connect with? What are the ethical practices of the AI tool? We need critical thinking for that. So it is very important to have critical thinking. And that is one of the essential skills which all of us should develop in this present world.
Thank you, ma'am, for that. Lekha has asked, active listening is very important, but some are having less having less in the discussion. So how can we improve this?
Yeah, active. See, whenever you need somebody to listen. So my question to all of you: did you all actively listen to my session today? I've taken the session starting from 6:15 to almost 7 o'clock. 45 minutes. I had continuously taken the session. Was there a time when you all deviated? What is your answer? You were actively attending. So if you were actively attending, what was it? There was something which was interesting for you. There was something which you were curious about to know. So create such situation wherein your listener, yeah, thank you so much. I can see Shelvarani's response. Engaged. So you have to create a session where there is curiosity, there is wonder, there is excitement, there is something magical about the whole activity that you have designed. That is what makes your class attentive, and a passive listener becomes an active learner inside your classroom. It is quite possible. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for that. There's another question from Shamna Yakub. I think it's a continuation. How can we start the critical thinking from kindergarten?
Okay. So now, when I'm talking to the children about critical thinking session, so story is one of the options. I come up with the story. I don't give the complete story, and I create so much of drama in the story to the level where I make the children come up with their response. So you can enact the story, you can show the different props, you can have the different types of puppets inside your classroom, you can have puzzles, even the number puzzles that you create inside the classroom, or the alphabet puzzles, or the words, the blending, etc. All these are options wherein an age appropriate critical thinking comes into the picture. You're giving options for analysis. There are sorting exercises inside kindergarten classroom. In that sorting, words can be sorted, colors can be sorted, beads can be sorted, seeds can be sorted. All these are different ways. So when I mentioned about the different learning outcomes, analysis is one of the options of critical thinking skill. So what should be the right type of skill that your children require? Accordingly, if you bring in an activity right from the preschool, there is no exaggeration to this. Right from the age of 3 years, critical thinking skill, because that's the time when the children come to us. And at home, your mamas and papas can create critical thinking. But we don't actually focus that I am going to do a critical thinking session. I make it as, we are all always in this world of critical thinking. We are only not realizing it, and we have forgotten to respond and analyze. That is why now this 21st century skill has been zoomed as critical thinking, and it is now coming to all of us. Otherwise, in kindergarten classroom, that is the best place where critical thinking happens, because there is always a reason for curiosity and wonder. I'll give you a simple example. I have associated with a preschool, a Finnish curriculum preschool. There is always a need for research and adventure there. So what we did is that we created a kind of a tunnel, a trail, a pathway. It was autumn fall. Topic was about autumn fall. And the adventure is about getting into a squirrel's burrow and to see what are the things are there inside the burrow. So on the way, there are certain drama, the characters are kept, certain rules and regulations are kept. So now the children go as a trail, somewhere they jump, somewhere they have to crawl, etc., and they finally end up in the burrow of the squirrel, which is created. And inside that burrow, they have so many things. And this, that, etc., they have started picking up seeds, etc. So what are we trying to do? By doing an activity, we are able to bring that concept of critical thinking and creativity in the children. So they come up with beautiful answers. And you should learn how to enjoy that session with the kindergarten. If you ask me, I love the most doing creative and critical thinking with the kindergarten children.
Thank you, ma'am, for that. We have a question from Neeta. Some students in my class are abnormal. They can understand anything. So how to improve these students?
That's out of critical thinking. Children are not ready to respond. First of all, identify the reason why they are not ready to respond. Maybe they are shy because they are half ignorant about things. Maybe their vocabulary is not up to the mark. Usually, children who are shy and reluctant to respond, check out on their vocabulary, how much they know about certain concepts. And vocabulary, as we call it, is the key word. The first step towards, in the overall thinking levels, the base level is about remembering, recalling, the cognitive ability. And in that remembering ability, it is all about words. We play around with words. And can you think about anything in this world which does not have a name? Anything in this world which does not have a name, which we cannot describe using words. Is there anything that exists in this world? No. It's all connected with words. So the moment your child is having the grip of vocabulary and the words, it becomes easier for the child to communicate. Maybe they are shy. It is for you to bring them. That is where open-ended questions work. That is where different forms, because all children are not alike. They are all not linguistically smart to always respond using words. So you have to create a world wherein you change the perspective. You don't have to always expect the child to give an answer. It can be even in writing, even it can be in drawing. And the moment you start encouraging the child and motivating the child, he will come out of his shyness.
Thank you, ma'am, for that.